Hi, this is Jessica Ortner from TheTappingSolution.com and your host for the Tapping World Summit. In the last few days, you've had the opportunity to see my brother Nick interview some really extraordinary people. And now I have the opportunity to interview someone that's very extraordinary. He is my own brother, Nick Ortner. Welcome, Nick.
Jess, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for having us in your home.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so we want to talk about tapping. We want to talk about the basics, and we really want to learn what we can expect from the summit and how we can use this tool to improve our lives. Let's start with the basics. What is tapping?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are new to this experience. A lot have been with us for the past 4 years. But if you're new to tapping, in a nutshell, I like to describe it as a combination of ancient Chinese acupressure, and that's the tapping, that's the physical tapping on the body, and the modern psychology, and that's the statements, right? So we're tapping while saying certain statements. And as you know, it's this strange looking technique that I thought was weird the first time I saw it. I actually put it off for a while. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't have an understanding of where it's coming from. But I kept seeing person after person after person saying this worked for me on a whole variety of issues, and we'll cover some of those issues in today's talk. And I got to the point where I said, well, I've got to try it. So sure enough, about 10 years ago, I started going through the tapping process, and I tap in here and looking at the directions. And, you know, it takes a few minutes to figure out exactly how to do it. But once you get the basics, it's so easy to learn. And the results, as we know, are just extraordinary.
Well, let's talk about those extraordinary results. What have you seen?
Well, the list is endless. And, you know, I think part of the challenge that people face when they hear about tapping is like, okay, so I heard it works for pain relief, and it works for weight loss, and it works for this, so there's so many things. But we'll cover a few of them. Pain relief, the first one I mentioned. I've seen it work again and again in just really tremendous ways with pain relief. It startles me every time when I work with clients or on stage and we bring someone up to tap on pain relief and their back pain goes away in 5 minutes. It's like, how is this possible? And, you know, I even joke, like, you know, you don't have to tell me it's gone just because I'm asking you to do the tapping if it's not gone, but sure enough it is. And it's not just those 5-minute results. You know, in the film The Tapping Solution, we document a couple of extraordinary cases. John, with 30 years of chronic back pain, he did the tapping and woke up the second morning pain-free.
I couldn't believe it.
I mean, I still can't believe it. Jody, with fibromyalgia, diagnosed, having for 15 years, again, woke up, I don't know what was magical about the second morning. I guess it was the whole day of tapping, got to sleep, the body relaxed, woke up pain-free for the first time in 15 years. And Patricia, who had fractured her L1 in a boating accident, massive pain, medications, the same story as John and Jody, woke up pain-free. And what's really extraordinary is that has lasted. You know, that was 4 years ago. 4 years later, that pain is still gone for all of them. And that's just a handful of examples with pain relief. So we have pain relief. I mentioned weight loss. Again, it's one of those things you go, why are we tapping on meridian points in our body to affect our weight? But what we're really doing is we're not tapping on, it's not like it's a calorie burner. I mean, you burn a few calories by tapping, but not much, right? We're looking at the emotional issues behind what's going on. We're looking at the food cravings. You know, tapping for food cravings to reduce that physical pull and, most importantly, that emotional pull, right? Tapping for body image. How do I feel about myself? Tapping for limiting beliefs, things that happened in the past that are holding us back. You know, I know you've heard these stories again and again of people who had an experience when they were 10 years old or 7 years old or they were 15 and someone said, you don't look good when you're skinny, or you're fat, or you're this, or you're that, and they just took it into their body. They took it in their system, and it dominated the rest of their lives. You know, I remember hearing a story and working with a client who said, there was a point in my life when I was in really good shape, and I was feeling so great, and my sister said to me, you know, oh, you're always a skinny one, you get everything you want, it's so easy for you. So when she heard from her big sister this negative feedback, all of a sudden she decided for herself, and these aren't always conscious decisions. They can be, but oftentimes there are these subtle subconscious decisions that she said, it's not safe to be healthy. It's not safe to be skinny. So we've done that to ourselves again and again. Same thing with finances, you know, with limiting beliefs around money. The same question comes up. Why are we tapping on meridian points to address money and finances? But we're not tapping. It's not like the tapping makes you make money. It's the tapping gets to the underlying limiting beliefs, traumas from childhood, the things that you're made of, right? The things that are holding you back. So the same kind of stories that you hear when you talk about finances. Someone once did a wonderful thing, and they got some feedback where it didn't feel safe to stand out. I think you'll see it as a recurring theme throughout the summit that we talk often about safety. Right. And it's not something that we think about on a daily basis, and it's like, well, what do you mean safety? But the underlying thing that's happening with our bodies, with our minds, is that when we don't feel safe for some reason, when there's a trauma, when there's a limiting belief, when there's something negative that happened in our past, when we have stress in our current situation, or we create stress about the future, when all of that happens, our body doesn't feel safe. And when it doesn't feel safe, that tension builds up and we don't move forward. So what we're doing by doing the tapping is really realigning the body, mind, and spirit to feel safe, to let go of those things from the past.
One of the things with tapping is that it works on so many things that it's easy to be skeptical about it. We both were very skeptical about it. How is it that one modality can be used for so many different areas of your life?
Well, for a long time, the discussion around how tapping works talked about the meridian system in the body. I mean, we are talking about tapping on these endpoints of meridians and the energy system in the body and the chakras. And I personally believe that there's a lot to be said for that, right? But I'm not somebody who sees chakras or meridians or energy system. So it was always a part of me that said, well, give me the scientific stuff. Give me the Western stuff so we can prove it. The good news is that the last really 5 years, the research has gone through the roof because there's been so much excitement and interest in tapping, and with that flows the money into doing the research, which is really important. And the research is showing that when we're tapping on these meridian points in the body, while focusing on a certain issue, we're actually sending a signal to the amygdala, right? So we'll back it up for a second. We have the stress, the trauma, the limiting belief, the craving, the negative thought, whatever our target is. When we think of it, we immediately bring it forward. And we've all had that experience, right?
You feel it in your body.
You feel it in your body. If I asked you right now to think of something that's stressful, for everyone listening, so I said, think of something that's stressful, and you thought about it, you'd feel the tension in your body, right? So what's happening when that happens? When that happens, when that focus is going on, there's a low-grade fight or flight response, right? So what's a fight or flight response? It's that old, ancient, primitive part of our brain, which was really helpful 10,000 years ago when a tiger or a saber-toothed tiger was chasing us and we had to fight or flee it. And it's, of course, still helpful today in situations when there is danger. The challenge that we face in most of our modern lives is that this fight or flight response is coming up because of these perceived dangers, right? The perceived external threat of what someone might say to you, or your boss at work that's driving you crazy, or the physical pain. Now, they're real problems, but when we take those into our body and we hold on to them is when they all accumulate, and that's when you have that chronic stress that builds up one thing after another.
Because we're not fighting or fleeing, we're just...
Well, that's a great point, because that's one of the main challenges that we face. Again, 10,000 years ago, this was designed to do something with it. So if there was anger, if your boss is driving you crazy and there's anger, the response was to attack, slap and punch them. I mean, I'm sure most of us have wanted to do that at times, right? But that's not appropriate in our modern society. The opportunity here is to reprogram our response, to actually be able to focus on the anger, on the sadness, on whatever issue, to do the tapping and to send that signal to the amygdala in the brain, which then tells us we're safe. And until you experience it, it's one of those strange things. But when you do, when you have that first experience of tapping and you go, okay, well, I just had an issue and I went through the tapping points and now something's shifted here. There's something really different. And that's, to me, one of the most exciting things is how quickly it shifts.
Yes, that's what I love about tapping. It's something that you experience. So you don't need to over-explain it.
Yeah.
You just need to give everyone an experience.
Yeah.
So let's do that. I want everyone to have an experience. Yeah. Let's cover some of the basics.
Sure.
So if we're looking at clearing something in our lives, overcoming a challenge, how do we start with the tapping?
Yeah. So there's a couple really basic steps. The first thing we have to identify is what we're working on, right? What is the target for what we're going to work on? And this can be anything. This can be, again, we talked about cravings and pain in the body. So the first step is always to identify the target, right? What is it that we're working on? We can work on so many things as we talked about. So is it the financial stress? Is it anxiety about a particular issue? Is it a craving? Is it physical pain in the body? Is it anger, anxiety, right? The list goes on, but we want to focus in. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to have what we call global focus, because I don't know what everybody out there's focused on. So we're going to do a general tapping. When you do your own tapping, the more specific that you get, the better, right, on your specific issue. But for now, since we have hundreds of thousands of people working together, we're just going to be global, okay? So what I'd like everybody to do is pick something in your body, and you can actually close your eyes and take a deep breath, and I'll do it with you. We'll all do it together. So get settled, take a deep breath, and just feel into your body, and look for some physical pain. If it's there, you know what it is. If it's not there, look for some tension. A lot of us have it in our neck, in our shoulders, in our head. Look for some tension. Look for something that just doesn't feel right. Okay, now once you have it, I want you to give it a number on a 0 to 10 scale. Okay, 0 being there's nothing there, so you wouldn't pick a 0. 10 being it's the utmost pain, stress, anxiety. If you can't get anything in your body, then just choose an issue that you're stressed out about. I want you to be able to work on something. And you want it to be a 5 or higher in intensity scale. Okay, so 0 to 10, either physical pain in your body or something that you're just stressed out about. Okay? So now once we have the issue, we have the number, and if you have a pen and paper, it's great to write it down to say, this headache, level 6, or number 7, whatever it fits, okay? So now we have the target, and now we're going to do the tapping. You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, you're going to follow after me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start by tapping on the side of the hand. It's called the karate chop point. You can use one hand, you can use the other hand. Either way, doesn't matter. Some people even like to tap like this, okay? And we're going to do what's called the setup statement. This is where we focus on the issue, bring it to mind, and I'll explain a little bit about the setup statement after we go over it, okay? So tapping the side of the hand, just repeat after me. Even though I have this pain in my body,
even though I have this pain in my body,
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I have this pain in my body,
even though I have this pain in my body,
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I have this stress and pain in my body,
even though I have this stress and pain in my body,
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Okay, and now we're going to go through the points, but really briefly on that, what we're doing is we're saying, even though, and we're filling in the blank on whatever issue is. So I did pain in the body because that's what we're making up but working with now. If there's stress, if there's anxiety, even though I'm anxious about the test next week, even though I'm anxious about my job interview, I deeply and completely accept myself. And what are we doing? We're bringing it forward. We're acknowledging the problem, which is such a big step that a lot of people have a hard time doing, right? People like to be like, I don't want to talk about this.
People have a big objection to that because they think, why should I ever accept something that's wrong? Shouldn't I fight through it? Shouldn't I push through?
Yeah, and it's a common response, and we try to push away the things that we don't like in our lives. But as I've experienced again and again with tapping, and it goes even beyond tapping, the moment that we accept ourselves as we are is the moment we can change. That's the moment where everything can shift. So there's so much power in just that statement. Even though I'm anxious, I deeply and completely accept myself. Usually it's, even though I'm anxious, I'm an idiot, I hate myself, I can't believe I'm anxious again, I can't believe I'm doing this again.
And it's the same pattern over and over again.
But you can just feel into the energy and really, really feel it. Take the time to go, even though whatever my problem is, whatever my anger, my issue, my trauma, I deeply and completely accept myself. It's so powerful just from there.
Right.
Okay, so we do the setup and now we go through the points. Okay, so the first point is the eyebrow point. Inside of the eyebrow, right where the hair ends and it meets the nose, you can use one hand, you can use the other hand, or you can use both. Okay? The meridians run down both sides of the body, so it doesn't matter. I've heard that if you use both, it works better, but I haven't found it yet, so it's up to you. Okay? So inside of the eyebrow, and we just repeat what's called the reminder phrase, which is just a little reminder about what we're focused on. So in this case, we can just say this pain.
This pain.
And now on the side of the eye, it's not at the temple, it's not at the eyeball, right on the side of the eye, right on the bone, where the face turns, again, one hand or the other hand or both, this pain.
This pain.
Now, underneath the eye, right on the bone, one hand, other hand or both, this pain.
This pain.
Under the nose, this pain.
This pain.
And now the chin, it's that little crease right in there, this pain.
This pain.
We have 3 more points left. If you feel for the 2 little bones of the collarbone, and you go down an inch and just out to each side about an inch. And just tap with both hands, this pain.
And I like to use my whole hand, because then I know that I got it.
There we go. And I use both hands like this. So, which tells you, a lot of people worry about getting things perfect. Do I do it right? There's a lot of flexibility in this process, okay? So, this pain in my body.
This pain in my body.
Under the arm, 3 inches underneath the armpit. Right on the bra line for women. Again, one side or the other side. This pain in my body.
This pain in my body.
And now top of the head, this pain in my body.
This pain in my body.
Now we take a deep breath and let it go. And now we tune in. So that was what's called one round, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most basics of rounds. Again, identify the target, do the even though statement, and do that 3 times, and then move through the points. And then what we do is we check in. So what happened there? Let's say the pain was at a level 8. Has it shifted? Oh wow, it's a level 5 now. Did something else come up? Right? We're tapping on the pain in the body, and all of a sudden, stress at work pops up, or an old memory pops up. That's a clue that there's somewhere else to go with this.
Right.
You know?
I know you've addressed this in the past, but I think it's worth asking again. Why are we saying negative things, or why are we speaking the truth while we're doing the tapping?
Yeah, so I love the word the truth. I like to, we call it the negative statements, but I like to say it's the truth.
Yeah, it's how we're feeling.
It's how we're feeling. And what we're doing, people get really scared. It's like, I don't want to go there, I don't want to be negative, but we're only acknowledging how we're feeling for a short period of time in order to clear it. And I think by speaking it and doing the tapping, there's an ultimate release that happens there, right? And you do the negative and you go through a couple rounds until you feel that shift, until you say, something's happened here, and now I can do positive if I want to. You can tap and go, I choose to release this pain. My body is safe now, all is well, right? So,
but only once that feels congruent to you.
Yeah, and the difference is that if right from the beginning, if you are going through a trauma, if you have a memory, if you remember something happened to you when you were 10 years old that's really upsetting, and I tell you, go ahead and tap and say, all is well, and I am loved, there's a part of you that will reject that, because say, no, that's not the case, because that emotion is stuck in the body, that fight or flight mechanism is turned on, and you just can't move forward. When we deactivate that, when we change the brain's response, the limbic system response, the nervous response, is then when we have the ability to say, okay, I can say this now.
Right. I like to tell people, pretend you're complaining to your best friend.
Yeah.
A lot of people complain to their best friend anyway, so just do it while you're stimulating the points.
And in fact, if you are complaining to your best friend on the phone, you can tap while you do it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Tap and talk. So as you'll learn throughout the summit, there's a lot of different ways to do the process. Like tap and talk, there's the movie technique, there's other ways to approach it. The basics are so simple, and then to me, the depth of it, the mastery, is in going deeper. It's really peeling an onion. You start with the issue, which was back pain or anger or anxiety, then you see what's underneath it. We just did 5 minutes of tapping, but if you work with a private practitioner, for example, or during the Tapping World Summit calls, they're 45 minutes to an hour where you're exploring the issue, talking about it, and then doing tapping with it.
What I love about tapping is it's something that once you learn, it's a tool that you always have to support you and those around you.
Yeah.
That being said, someone who's doing it by themselves, they may be wondering, is there any bad side effects? Can I do it wrong? Is there anything I should be careful of?
Yeah. Well, I joke that I find the most dangerous part is poking yourself in the eye. But I've yet to do it in my 10 years of tapping. So maybe don't drunk tap. No drunk tapping or something. My only caution would be is that if there are some deep-seated traumas, if there's places and things that have happened that when you think about going in there, everything just tightens up, then that's perhaps something you don't want to do on your own. You want to reach out to a qualified practitioner. There's a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists who use tapping in their practice. There's doctors, there's MDs who use it, there's coaches who use it. So if something doesn't feel safe to go there, reach out to somebody who really knows what they're doing.
Right. And if someone is looking to target something, should they be tapping just a few minutes a day, or do they need to spend an hour or 2 hours? How do we begin to incorporate tapping into our lives?
Well, certainly a little bit is better than nothing. So even just waking up in the morning doing tapping, it will energize you and release some of that stress. The most profound results that I see, and this is the 5th time we've done the Tapping World Summit, so I have a lot of evidence of what works. And here's what I find. We run the summit for 10 days, right? It's 10 days straight. There's 2 presentations a day. Each of them is on different topics. The people that buckle down and say, I'm going to focus and I'm going to do the tapping, and there's incredible stories of people waking up early and going to sleep late and just finding the time to do it, are the ones that see tremendous results.
Yeah.
Because they went for it all. And especially the ones that listen to the interviews and the presentations that they didn't think applied to them. I've heard that again and again. So you think, oh, well, I'm here for the summit for weight loss or to improve my finances or improve my relationship. I'll only listen to day 6, right? But oftentimes it's the other things. We know our lives are so interrelated, right? Something that's affecting our relationship could be affecting our weight and how we feel about ourselves and our health. Our finances could be directly related to our health. So everything's so together that oftentimes when you branch out and say, I'm going to explore this, you find some new insights, especially if you've been hyper-focused on an issue for so long and you've been looking at weight loss or looking at relationships. Sometimes a different perspective, almost like from a different field, can bring in that insight that you need. So buckle down and spend those 10 days, or if you can't do it those 10 days, obviously the audios are available at other times if you want to purchase them, and that's another way to go back and go deeper.
And I suggest that when people listen to them, they have a piece of paper, because within the audio, I know as the person who's doing the interview, I keep having these aha moments where I want to jot them down and keep that with me to make sure I remember it.
Yeah.
What's exciting about the summit is that it is free. It's actually free for 10 days. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, absolutely. And it's like there's moving lines of free online,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, what is it? What's really free? So I want to explain exactly how it works for people. And this was our intent from the beginning. You know, when we put this series together, I said, I want to deliver content that is just, we know the tapping works in a huge way. Now let's deliver it in a way where people can get everything they can from it. So it's 45-minute to an hour presentation. They're all varying lengths, where there's absolutely no pitching, right? There's no other product to buy. There's no other thing. And that's fine when that happens, because, look, I buy other products, and I'm a learner and a seeker, and I'm always looking for other things. But in this particular environment, we said nothing but content for those 10 days. So over that 24-hour period, so let's say it's day one, 2 presentations come out, they're available for 24 hours. So if you're in Sweden, if you're in Australia, it's there for you at the time that you need it. As soon as you show up, you press play and it starts for you. If you want to go deeper, if you want to share it with a friend, if you want to listen to them again and again, I mean, we talked about how much is in there. I find that I go back to some audios again and again and again, and it's that 4th listen where a breakthrough happens. They're available for purchase. And when you purchase them, it comes with some bonuses, a workbook, and transcripts, and that's an option for people. But putting all that aside, to me, what's most important about the summit is that every year for 10 days, literally hundreds of thousands of people focus their attention, their energy, their commitment to changing their lives, and they just get incredible content.
And what I love is the people who do purchase it are really supporting a greater community who might not be able to afford this type of information. One of my favorite stories was a boy in China who found it. He's an only child. He was going through exams. He found the Tapping World Summit, and he was able to learn how to do the tapping and deal with the stress and the anxiety that came during exams. And he wrote us this beautiful email. So it's those moments like that when you see how it's spreading around the world and impacting so many different people.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly a global phenomenon, and it's a pleasure to play a small part in it and get it out there. You know, I have a belief that the tapping at some point will, I think the first step is to have it be as well known as meditation and yoga, right? The practice that those who are into meditation and yoga, this fits right into there, this slides right in. And there's also so much opportunity with, you know, first responders, with firemen, with policemen, with people who work in ambulances to deal with that initial trauma. In hospitals, it's being used. I'm talking to MDs all the time who, when they face an issue that they just can't handle with their existing resources, if the medication isn't working or whatever they do, all of a sudden they address the emotional side of things and things start changing and clicking. So to me, the sky's the limit and what's possible here. The last couple summits, we've supported some really worthy causes like Project Light in Rwanda, working with genocide victims with PTSD. We've supported the Veterans Project that is working with veterans from mostly Iraq and Afghanistan, but also some Vietnam veterans from other wars, again, working with PTSD. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, right? It's trauma at the utmost level. Supporting projects helping women who are dealing with cancer and using the tapping, again, not to cure cancer, not to fix everything in your lives, but for emotional support, to relieve the stress in the body so the body can heal.
And like I said, once you know this technique, you have it forever to use anytime you feel like you're in a crisis and you need that support.
Whatever happens, it's there for you. And it's also so fantastic for friends and family. And, you know, it's like, what a tool to be able to give to somebody and say, hey, let's try this for the tough time you're going through.
For someone who is skeptical about this summit and everything that we're doing, what would you say to them?
Well, just take 5 minutes and have an experience. That's what I love about tapping. The commitment is literally, okay, let's do some tapping, and did something shift? And if something didn't shift for you, then it's not for you. It's unlikely. I mean, I would say if something didn't shift, narrow down a little more focus. You know, don't give up so quickly on it. There's certainly some refinements, and you know, but which you can learn during the summit. But it works, and you can experience it for yourself. You can have it forever.
All right, so Nick, before we wrap up, I want to get in some more tapping
Absolutely.
so everyone can tap along with us.
Absolutely. So let's do this. You know, we focused on a physical pain before. Let's get a real result now. Let's go even deeper. So I want everyone to think about something in their life that's really stressing them out. Okay? So go ahead and you can close your eyes and take a deep breath and just tune into that issue that is just like, oh, there it is. You know, the stress at work, a physical condition that's going on, some stress about money, whatever it is, tune into it. Feel it in your body too. Look for any tension in your body. How does it feel in your body? Is there tightness in your stomach, in your throat? And then give it that number, as always, on a 0 to 10 scale. And then also ask yourself, feel the stress and just go, what's this really about? And I'm not going to be able to do the tapping for you specifically on what's about, but it's helping you to hone in. So we're going to do general tapping, but just try to get as specific as possible with what's going on, what the stress is, what's it all about. All right? Okay. And let's do some tapping. So again, tapping the side of the hand, and I'm going to do general language and just repeat after me. Okay? So tapping the side of the hand. Even though I have all this stress in my life,
even though I have all this stress in my life
about this particular issue,
I
deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I'm really stressed out about this,
I'm
having a hard time letting it go,
I
choose to relax now.
Even
though I'm having a hard time letting this go, I'm feeling stressed,
and I'm feeling stressed,
I deeply and completely accept myself. And now through the points, eyebrow point, all this stress, side of the eye, I can't let this go. Under the eye, all the stress in my body. Under the nose, all the stress in my life. Under the mouth, there's so much going on. Collarbone, and I can't let it go. Under the arm, all this stress. Top of the head, all the stress in my body. Back to the eyebrow, all the stress in my life. Side of the eye, I wonder if I could let it go. Under the eye, I wonder if I could let part of it go. Under the nose, I wonder if it's safe to let it go. Under the mouth, I choose to let this go. Collarbone, I choose to figure out exactly what's going on. Under the arm, and let it go. Top of the head, letting this all go now. Deep breath. And let it go. Now we tune back in. You obviously probably feel just the relaxation that comes in the body.
Just in my shoulders,
yeah. It's just the tension letting go. But beyond that physical relaxation, it's the mental relaxation. It's that cognitive shift that says, I was feeling this way about something a minute ago, and now I'm feeling differently. Now I have new insights, or now I have new things to work on. Mm-hmm. You know, that was just one round, one experience, and you do more tapping, you go even deeper.
And we're going to do a lot of tapping in the Tapping World Summit. What I love so much about this technique is that I feel like it's something where I can finally allow myself to feel what I'm feeling. So often in the past, before I learned this, I was always trying to push positive thinking and just always felt like I was fighting and I had this battle going on, and it ends the battle, and it really just calms your body and your mind when your own self-assurance isn't working.
And I don't want people to get us wrong. We are all about positive thinking.
Yes, we are.
100%, and it's so important. But you're right in that I think part of the challenge is that people have been scared to feel. Because if you don't have a technique or a way to move through the feelings, it doesn't feel good to feel them, right? Who wants to feel anxious? So instead of feeling anxious about something that's coming up, we just bury it. We bury it down deep. And you know when you're burying stuff, right? You know, there's a big difference between feeling anxiety and doing the tapping or doing some other process and letting it go and just going, I'm not going to feel this, push it down, Which is why sometimes when people first start tapping, even just doing a round of tapping can bring up all these emotions and all these feelings. And it's nothing to be scared about because you have a tool to do the tapping, to clear it out.
Well, that leads me to another question. What if someone begins doing the tapping and they find out that the number they had is going up?
Yeah. Well, that just means you've honed in on a deeper issue. So just stick with it. Just stick with the tapping. It won't happen for the most part. Most times it'll go down, but certainly you might identify another issue and that can feel uncomfortable, but we're only feeling comfortable for a short period of time. And I think you would agree with me that when we're doing the tapping, the release happens so quickly that whatever discomfort is there is only there for so long. And sometimes it's good to feel the emotions, Right. If we bury anger, when we finally allow ourselves to feel that anger and say, and sometimes with tapping we'll do that. We'll tap and yell and rage and just really be in the emotion. And it just feels so good to release it from the body.
Right. And we can take it one step at a time. We're going at our own pace, which is great.
Absolutely. This is a self-guided process. And to me, that's just a beautiful part of it.
Well, I am so excited for this Tapping World Summit. I mean, I look forward to it every year.
The 5th annual, it just keeps growing.
Can you believe it? It's been
growing.
5 years.
It's been 5 years.
I can't believe it's been 5 years. So what else should people know about this summit before we get started?
Well, I think we've covered it all. There's great resources. There's information on the science behind this and how it works with the brain right off the bat. We give that to you before it starts, so you can pass it on to friends and family and share that. There's a video from you about how to tap just on the point. So if you don't want to hear all this and you just want the point reminders, and there's charts, and anything else you need, just ask for it. So
yes,
that's
we
the other
are
thing
here
too.
to support you. And this is about, what I love about what we do is it's not just about us, it's about this big community and spreading this and creating this big family where everyone supports each other and shares this tool.
Absolutely. And we have some surprises along the way too.
Some really good ones.
Not just what's announced. So after the 10 days, the week after is usually pretty exciting with some of the really meaningful things that go on. So I'm not going to say any more now, but you got to stay tuned for that.
Well, Nick, thank you. This has been fun.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you at the Tapping World Summit.